Okay. So before we get started, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. And I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of the word diet. This might sound familiar to you. Does this word resonate? You can kind of give me a yes. I'm sure it probably does. You know, everybody kind of is familiar with this word diet. And my first diet started at the age of 13. My parents put me in Weight Watchers. I was always a really big kid, and my parents were trying to help me control my eating habits. And so in that, however, with dieting, what would end up possibly happening, and maybe you can relate to this, is this would be like 11:59 before my diet started, or this would be me if I had, let's say, had one cookie too many, right? It was always this extreme of, back and forth. It was never really consistent with my eating habits. Welcome, Deb. And this is part of my dieting journey. When I was 13 years old, that was me on the left. I then struggled with anorexia and bulimia for about 25 years. I spent 13 years competing in fitness competitions. And then what would happen every time the fitness competition would end, I would fall extremely off the wagon and gain a bunch of weight. And if you look at these two pictures here of me on stage and the me to the far right, that is literally like maybe a month between the two. So I had these huge swings. And about 10, 12 years ago, I really had my aha moment. And I was overtired, overworked, overstressed. I had no libido at all. And I had a really good looking boyfriend. So it was not him, it was me. My cycles were debilitating. They'd be painful and heavy. My metabolism just kind of stopped responding. And this is the years of stress and dieting that I had put it through. And I started entering early perimenopause. And I really struggled to sleep through the night as well. And ironically enough, I was in the supplement industry. I've been in this industry now for 20 years. And I was a holistic coach. I worked with women, but I was really good at giving advice, not so good at taking it myself. And I think if you were anything like me, and maybe you grew up in the era that I grew up in, health and wellness was kind of marked by the size of my pants. So to me, the smaller I got, the healthier I was, which was not the case at all, right? And so I really had this aha moment when I stepped back and took a look at what true holistic health meant to me. And not only for myself and how I wanted to age and be in the future, because that's something I began considering, but I also began looking at the fact I had the time she would have been a 10-year-old daughter who was watching me, right? And watching what I was doing and watching my struggles with food and my relationship with my body. And as I began to pull back and look at what true holistic health was to me, I decided to reframe it. I began to look at nutrition in a different light. I began to look at movement in a much different light. Instead of punishment as a way of giving thanks for using my body, rest was another thing. I began to look at my passions and my strengths and my purpose. I believe this is my purpose. I wake up every day excited to take on the day and spread the news of health and wellness. Then I began to look at my beliefs and also the thoughts that were going through my head and really did a lot of work on that. And at the end, it came out with these 5 pillars that I use in my brand, Aeryon Wellness, and I also used in my coaching practice. And they are the thoughts you think, the friends you keep, daily movement, nutrition, and then supplementation. And tonight you're going to see how I web and weave this through the conversation and why I believe this is so terribly important that we have these things all kind of combined together. There is no magic pill. I wish there was, and I wish I had it. But when you can combine these things, and that's what I really worked on, I've been able to find sustainable health and wellness. I've been able to find my weight has been consistent for numerous amount of years. Mentally, I feel better about myself. I love my body. I'm in a place I never thought I would be in. And I really want to share that with as many people as I possibly can. So hopefully they can feel the same way that I feel. So today, point of discussion, we're going to be talking about mindset, hormones, nutrition, movement, supplementation. I'm going to give you some bonus tips. And as I said, save your questions to the end for everybody else who's joining us, who has just kind of started, and I will answer as much as I possibly can. So if you can try to take notes, then that would be great. Grab a water or get a tea, get comfy, get a pen and paper, and let's get started. So I'm going to ask some questions first. So we're going to open the chat up for a second. Let me just get there we go. Okay. I'm going to open the chat up for a second and let's see if people can answer some questions here. I can do the same thing now as I was when I was younger to lose weight. Anybody, can you do the same thing now as you were when you're younger to lose weight? Yes, no? What do you think? Yeah, no, definitely not, right? I know. At least we're all on the same page. We all agree. Stress can affect weight management. Can stress affect your body's ability to gain or to lose weight? Yes, it can. Carbs make you put on weight. Sometimes people get stuck on this one. Now, unhealthy carbs can help you, can somewhat put on weight and abundance of them, but carbohydrates are actually a good thing. And you're right, Dula, they are a good thing. You're right, Dee, as well. They are a good thing. We need carbohydrates. And I think with the whole keto thing, I think anytime we restrict ourselves and pull out a whole food group, if you're anything like the way I was, I'm kind of like that little kid. When you tell me I can't have something, I'm like, I am going to have it. And then it becomes this restriction. And when it becomes restricted, then it becomes something we want even more. So we go this all the time, right? Instead of finding a relationship that's healthier with it. Fast food is always fattening. I'll answer this one. It's not always fattening. You can get some good foods when you're going through the drive-through, right? You can get a salad, you can get the dressing on the side. I go to Wendy's all the time. I get the dressing on the side. Well, they put the dressing on the side anyways, but I actually get none of the pecan nuts because I'll eat them because they're full of sugar. So I make different little adjustments, but fast food does not have to be fattening. Replacing white sugar with cane sugar will reduce weight. No, sugar is sugar. Even if it's brown, you're right, Dila. Even if it is brown, it looks all healthy, it still is sugar. And lifting weights will make you bulk up. No, lifting weights are so important. We're going to talk a lot about that tonight. Thank you, both Dee and Dila. Yes, lifting weights will not make you bulk up. Lifting weights are actually going to help your metabolism and support your muscle growth, which is going to keep that metabolism going and also help you in the long run for bone density, type 2 diabetes, all sorts of things that can happen. So thanks for answering. Thanks for playing along, everybody. So the first section is the thoughts you think. That's the first one we're going to jump into, really using these 5 pillars from Aeryon Wellness to kind of web and weave our way through the conversation tonight. So mindset is a really big part of my conversation in the beginning because it is what shapes what we're going to be doing, right? It's going to affect how we think, how we feel, and ultimately what we're going to be doing. So if we have a negative mindset, if we feel disempowered, that something never works, guess what? We're not going to be taking or putting on new habits that are actually going to be influencing us to have the different results. So when we look at this chart here, we have our behavior, action, results, performance, attitude. It all comes from mindset, how we are thinking and viewing things. And this is a really interesting fact. We have 70,000 thoughts a day, 70,000. Our brain is constantly firing. 85% are negative. Like, think of that, 85% negative, and 90% are the same as yesterday. I catch myself all the time, like, oh my God, I thought about that yesterday. You'll notice that now. You'll be like, I think about the same things all the time, it seems to be, right? So it's a 3-pound, our brain is 3-pound universe, right? It has enough electricity to power a light bulb. It really is phenomenal. And it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if we can really learn how to train our brain to think differently, it can ultimately produce different results in our life. And what this really resonates from is cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'm a CBT practitioner. So cognitive behavioral therapy has shown to have greater results and greater amounts of weight loss than any other strategies that just focus on diets and exercise. So really so cognitive behavioral therapy, the thoughts we think affects what we feel, right? Affects our feelings, and that feeling is going to affect how we act. So if I am thinking, I never lose weight, no matter how hard I try, my feeling is going to be one of disempowerment and one of failure. And then the action I'm going to take is probably not one of positivity. I'm not going to be eating a healthy meal or going to the gym because I feel deflated. So it's really important that we tap into how we're thinking and being able to control our mindset at all times. So for weight management, it targets behaviors and thoughts relating to diet and exercise. So really being able to challenge those thoughts, those negative thoughts when they show up, and change them and reframe them. So affirmations are a really big part of my day. Every morning I lie in bed, I give myself 5 minutes. This is something free you can do for yourself. Lie in bed for 5 minutes, and I really think of all the things I'm grateful for. And even when I'm having moments that things maybe aren't going the way I want to, because that is what humanity is, being human, right? Is I can really focus on the things I'm grateful for. I can move, I can run, I can make different choices today, I can eat better today. Everything in each moment can be changed, right? And we can really live in a different way. So change your language, change your thoughts, change your life. There's some really interesting, also some stuff with perimenopause and menopause. And I know we're not having that conversation tonight, but those who view menopause in a negative light have a more negative experience with menopause. So really looking at how powerful your brain is. So I am big boned, changing I am big boned to I am strong. It's in our family genes. It's not in your family genes. I control my destiny. I'm so fat. I love and appreciate my body. So really, when these negative narratives show up in your mind, really paying attention to how you're going to change them, because your brain and your thoughts are just like muscles, right? And they have to be trained. And I love this quote. You can't control your first thought, right? Those 70,000 thoughts a day that are coming at you. We can't control our first thought, but we can control our second thought. So when that thought shows up for you that you're not able to do something, or I'm so tired, or if I could just lose 10 pounds, or I can never succeed at this, really challenging your mind to reframe it and constantly firing back something different. I know in my own life, that was a really big part of my healing when it came through my eating disorder, and also to change my relationship with food and also movement and my body, was constantly changing those thoughts. That's cognitive behavioral therapy. So when you look at this, I love this one too. Every thought releases brain chemicals. So when we're focused on negative thoughts, it zaps our brain of its positive forcefulness. It slows it down and goes so far as dimming your brain's ability to function, and can even create depression. And I know I've been there in myself when my thoughts have just kind of started tailspin. I think everybody has done that. And that's why it's so important for us to learn that we have to shift those thoughts, right? I can't control the first thought, but I can control the second. So on the flip side, when we think positive, happy, hopeful, joyful, optimistic thoughts, it decreases cortisol. Now, cortisol is that stress hormone. We're going to talk about hormones next. But when you increase those happy thoughts, it produces serotonin. So serotonin is like that happy hormone, and it creates a sense of well-being simply by shifting the way we're thinking. So this is something totally free that we can do at all times. But like anything else in life, it takes a little bit of time to kind of keep going, right? Because I mean, I have stuff that shows up for me on a daily basis, and I have to be like, no, that's not the way we think that. Or even when I'm verbalizing stuff, I don't ever say anything negative about body. I don't say things negative about food. I really don't survive in that realm. I shift everything. Everything is a lesson. Everything's working for me, even though it sometimes doesn't feel like it is. So that's a really important part of all of it. And it also really affects your hormones, which really leads to our next conversation, which is hormones. So hormones serve as chemical messengers in your body, and they facilitate every bodily process, your metabolism, your hunger and fullness. They facilitate way more than this, but tonight, this is our conversation. And because of their association with appetite, they play a really significant role in body weight. And so we're going to be talking a little about some of the hormones that are key star players in weight loss tonight. So the first one, the kind of star of the show, is insulin. So insulin is the hormone produced by your pancreas, and it controls the amount of glucose in your bloodstream at any given minute. So it helps your helps your glucose, store in your liver, your fat, and your muscles as well. And it helps regulate your body's metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So when you look at this little diagram here, because we're going to talk about insulin resistance is when we eat food and your body makes insulin, but your cells resist the insulin. So they don't take it in and use it for energy. Then that stores as fat, and then we feel tired and hungry, right? And then we eat again. So it becomes this vicious cycle. So when your liver, your muscle, and your fat cells aren't responding to insulin as they should, they mean your blood sugar levels are higher than usual. So higher levels of insulin cause higher levels of hunger, increase your sugar cravings, and can lead to weight gain. So it's really important that we learn to balance our blood sugar to make that nice, right? Homeostasis, balance the blood sugar. So some of the symptoms you may find if you're developing insulin resistance in women who are going into perimenopause and menopause, type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance is very prevalent. So you can become hangry, you can crash after meals. So let's say you have a meal and all of a sudden you just like you can't even stay awake, you're exhausted. Those are some different signs that your insulin could be a little bit out of balance. So here are some tips, and you can screenshot this too if you like. Here are some tips that you can help to stabilize your blood sugar, to stabilize your insulin levels. Eat fewer meals. If you're from the camp I used to be from, which was like 6 meals a day, I can't do 6 meals a day, right? I find 3 meals a day work best for me. I don't graze anymore. So 3 great meals a day is what my body works really great for now. Protein with every meal. You're going to hear me say this a lot. Now, I say 1 gram per pound. Most people fall short of that, but 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal is ideal. It's what you want to have. You really want to have protein with every meal. That is going to stabilize blood sugar. You don't want any naked carbohydrates, as we call it. So if you're going to have a rice cake, and on a side note, rice cakes should not be called cakes, but whatever. If you're going to have a rice cake, have some tuna on it, have some peanut butter on it, have something that's going to help stabilize the blood sugar. So you're always looking no naked carbohydrates. When I look at my meals now, protein is the star of my show. Then I have my vegetables and my healthy carbs, and then I have my fats as well, and micronutrients and all those other things. So avoid simple carbohydrates, processed foods, fruit juices, those type of things, anything that has cane sugar, all those different hydrogenated cane sugar, hydrogenate, yeah, there we go. Keep your blood sugar stable by reducing stress on the body. Whenever you are stressed, that causes your blood sugar to go out of whack as well because it affects your cortisol. Resistance training is also another thing you can do. We're going to talk about movement in the next section. Getting adequate sleep and stress support management is very important. And one of the things I enjoy taking, one of my supplements, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but this is So Harmonious. This helps with blood sugar support. So it helps stabilize blood sugar. So that's one of our products we have for blood sugar support. So next we're going to talk about leptin. So leptin is the hormone your body fat releases and helps your body maintain a current weight, right? So it tells your body when to stop eating. So it's like, okay, tells your brain, I'm done, I'm full, right? Helps curb hunger. It helps regulate energy. So you're not craving food when your body doesn't need it. So if you're feeling full after you eat, that means your leptin levels are working. Now, what's interesting is people who are overweight have 4 times more leptin. They develop leptin resistance, which is interconnectedly tied to insulin resistance as well. So basically means you don't ever feel full. You're just always kind of in a state of hunger. So if you find you're always in a state of hunger, you could have leptin resistance. And insulin resistance can lead to leptin resistance. You're never really feeling full, constantly hungry. So one of the things that's really key is balancing blood sugar. So protein with every meal, as I said on the last slide, protein is super important. Having a product like So Harmonious to help stabilize blood sugar is another key thing. If you find you have a lot of inflammation in the body, you might not be sensitive to leptin. So if you have allergies to gluten, soy, dairy, sulfates, some of the things you can look at is cutting some of those out, looking at an anti-inflammatory diet. There's some great books on the market that talk about this. That could be something else that can help with that. And then, sorry, so let somebody else in. Okay. And then getting enough of sleep will also help lower your leptin levels. And 2 products I love is we have Snooze. I'm going to talk a bit about that. That is our melatonin-free sleep support product. And then Sleeping Beauty, which is our, oh, somebody else is coming in, our collagen and sleep support products. We have those 2 that can help you with sleep if sleep is something you're struggling with. So next we have ghrelin, and I like to call him ghrelin, although that's not the way you say this word. So ghrelin is a hormone produced in the gut. So you know when you get that like growly feeling, this is why I like this little character, because I just envision him like, feed me. So this is our feed me, I'm hungry, right? Its whole function is to tell us we're hungry. So leptin is to tell us we're full. Ghrelin say, hey, now I'm hungry, right? So if you found that you have higher levels, the hungrier you're going to get. So the more that rises, the hungrier you're going to get. So things you can do to help with ghrelin is exercise, avoid sugars. As I said, the high fructose corn syrup is a primary culprit of that. Having protein with every meal, you're going to hear this is going to be a very common denominator in this conversation tonight is protein. Minimizing your stress, getting good quality sleep. And one of the things we talk about protein, because protein balances blood sugar. So it balances insulin, leptin, and ghrelin, right? And So Harmonious is one example, and protein level is another, right? Making sure you're really having a good amount of protein is going to balance that blood sugar. It really is key. We are what we eat. Next one is melatonin. So we really can't, have this conversation about weight loss if we're not sleeping well. And so if you look at this stat here, after crunching the numbers of more than 1,000 participants in a study, researchers found that roughly 8 hours of sleep a night, so getting a good 8 hours of sleep a night, correlates with lower body mass index, lower levels of ghrelin, so you're not always feeling hungry, and higher levels of leptin, which are levels that make you feel full. So that's optimally what you want. You want your body to be like, hey, I'm hungry, and hey, I'm full. And having 8 hours a night of sleep, it actually shows that it correlates with that. You have a lower body mass index. So that's a really interesting stat, opposed to just getting 5 hours a night of sleep. So melatonin is the hormone that your brain produces in response to darkness. If you are somebody who is not getting a good night's sleep, my first question is, do you have blackout blinds? First thing I'm going to ask you. Is your room cool? Put a fan on, have a nice hug, like I like a heavy blanket, right? Have a nice heavy blanket. All these different things will really play a key role. I met a lady in a store a couple of weeks ago, and she was looking for a sleep support product. And I love my sleep support products. But my very first question is, do you have blackout blinds? And she said, no. And I said, what do you have? And she goes, well, I just have like little shutter ones. And I go, do you have a lot of light that comes in there? And she goes, yes, I do. And I'm like, get your blackout blinds first and then go to a supplement, because you can't have any light. When your brain sees that light, I don't know if anybody else can resonate with this, but if I have my TV, let's say I have a TV in my room and I don't have it on, but there's that little red light, it can never be on because my brain will be like, there's light, and wake me up in the middle of the night. So really, really important that we're getting that 8-hour sleep. Really important we're creating an environment that our body can get a good hour's sleep. So it helps with the timing of the circadian rhythm, that 24-hour internal clock, right? Being exposed to light at night can block melatonin production, which is why they all tell us to not use our phones at night before we go to bed, right? The dysregulation of ghrelin and leptin may increase appetite and diminish feelings of fullness in people who are sleep deprived. So what that means is if you are sleep deprived, you're more prone to be hungry and craving things that aren't necessarily good for you. So some of the solutions, one of the symptoms can be heavier midsection, and you would just be tired, really, and not making, really great food choices. So be consistent with your bedtime. Every night I'm in bed at 9 o'clock. It's just the way it is. And actually, I look forward to it. It's really my time to settle down. Make sure, as I mentioned, it's quiet, dark, relaxing, and comfortable temperature. Remove your electronic devices. Avoid large meals like caffeine or alcohol before bed. Alcohol, as much as, I like a glass of wine, I've noticed as I've gotten older, I do not have a good night's sleep if I have wine before I go to bed. And exercising. If you are somebody who's having a hard time going to sleep, don't exercise before bed. But if you exercise during the day, a lot of us have sedentary jobs. We're sitting down all the time. So making sure we're moving our body at least once a day, either going for a walk, going for a run, lifting weights, at least 3 times a week, lift your weights. Getting exercise will prepare your body to be tired enough to get to sleep. And if you're really having a tough time sleeping, you've done all these things, then we have snooze and sleeping beauty. So I'm going to talk a bit about snooze tonight later in the supplement section. So cortisol. So I mentioned cortisol earlier when I was talking about the thoughts you think. So cortisol has a really intricate relationship with the hormone insulin. So when cortisol increases, when stress, so cortisol is our stress response hormone. So when we are getting chased by a bear, I guess not many of us get chased by a bear, but when you feel that, when your body, like, that's your cortisol. But cortisol also protects us too, right? It makes us run faster. It also, the people who can lift cars off babies, those kind of things, our body jacks up everything. Our adrenaline gets going, and that's our cortisol response. However, when we are constantly under stress, which most of us tend to be we live in a very stressful environment, stressful world right now, our cells can become resistant to insulin. So this increases this increases blood sugar, muscle loss, and weight gain. And it's actually one of the main reasons that women are estrogen dominant and hormonally imbalanced, and why a lot of women struggle with PMS, and why a lot of women going into perimenopause are very symptomatic and becoming more symptomatic because of stress. So when we have insulin resistance, it increases inflammation in the body that elevates our cortisol levels, elevates our blood sugar levels again, and creates insulin resistance. So it really becomes this circle. So some of the symptoms you would find, again, heavier midsection is kind of known as a cortisol belly. So some of the things you can do when looking at stress, because managing our stress is so very important. We live in a stressful world. We're not going to get away from it. Looking at sleep, meditation, painting, music, the thoughts you think, as I mentioned that earlier, reducing inflammatory foods. Your body will react by creating more cortisol if you are inflamed. So, high fish oils, we're going to talk about nutrition in the next segment, but looking at foods that are anti-inflammatory, eating at regular times, right? Keeping your blood sugar balanced and your body's not stressed, because your body gets stressed when it's actually working and breaking down food. Exercise regularly. You can try yoga if you like. Sleeping helps lower cortisol, also helps with weight loss. And get this, regular orgasms flush cortisol. That's a good one. The hormone oxytocin is released during orgasms, and that lowers cortisol levels. That's a bonus. So there you go. There are some ways in which you can lower your cortisol levels. So next we're going to talk about estrogen. So estrogen is the most famous sex hormone in women and people who menstruate. It's made from cholesterol. So that's a type of fat within the body. In addition to regulating menstrual cycles, estrogen affects the reproductive tract, urinary tract, heart, blood, bone, breast, skin, hair, mucus, like the whole deal, right? However, too much estrogen in our body can be the hidden cause of weight gain, moodiness, painful heavy periods, and irregular periods, kind of known as PMS. So those symptoms would be known as PMS. Now, some of the reasons we can have more estrogen dominance or estrogen excess is the food that we're eating. That's why we're going to talk about nutrition. It can be the water we're drinking, personal care products. One of the things I've done in our household is all of our cleaning products are all 100% natural. All of my clothing, stuff to wash our clothes. My daughter loves the smell of Bounce. We don't use Bounce at all. She's like, can't we just get something that smells? I'm like, no, everything's all no scented. We look at different ways in which we can eliminate those from our life, and that's part of it. Gut dysbiosis is another thing. So if you're having gut and intestinal issues, BPA and plastics, making sure you're using glass bottles to drink from, heavy metals, body fat actually creates more estrogen, hormone replacement, and birth control. Birth control is one of the number one reasons for estrogen dominance, and then chronic stress, as I mentioned. So those are some 9 causes of estrogen dominance. So some of the top hormonal balances top hormonal balance fat placements would be the arm fat, chest fat, belly fat, love handle, and hip, butt, and thigh. So when we are estrogen dominant, that leads to midsection weight gain, right? That cortisol belly. That weight gain, that fatty tissue produces even more estrogen, right? So then it kind of becomes this vicious circle because it produces more estrogen, then you're estrogen dominant again, then it produces more. So it just kind of keeps going. So really looking at ways in which we can support our body with estrogen metabolism, support our estrogen metabolism. So symptoms can be weight gain in the hips, thighs, and midsection. So looking at stress management, how we're managing the stress in our day-to-day life, looking at whole foods, increasing our fiber on a regular basis. One of the ways our body excretes estrogen is through pooping. If you're not having regular bowel movements, this is really important. Daily movement, we sweat it out as well. Eating cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, cauliflower that binds to estrogen helps your body metabolize it. Avoiding plastics, water bottles, anything with BPA, chemicals, birth control pill, unless you have to be on the pill. But if you're looking at it to source a way to balance your PMS symptoms, eventually you might come off. So it might be an idea to start looking at ways in which you can support your body. One of my favorite products is Reclaim Hormonal Support. This is don't tell the others, but my very favorite product. It's a 1 a day. It helps with estrogen metabolism. I can't say enough about the product, but I'll talk a little bit about it later. So that's Reclaim. So some of the hormonal section takeaways are protein with every meal. So this is the section you might want to screenshot. Protein with every meal. You want to have a protein source. We're going to talk about this next with every single meal. If that's something you can take away tonight, please make sure you're having your protein. Avoid those simple processed carbohydrates, high fructose corn syrup, all the sugars, the juices, all those kind of things. That's going to spike your insulin, spike your blood sugar levels. Set eating times. So you're having 3 a day on a regular basis. Manage your stress. A big thing is just say no. I've had to get really good at saying no because I like to say yes to everybody, and maybe some of you can resonate with that. Manage your sleep, 7 to 8 hours a night. As I mentioned, all those different factors, the blinds, the keeping it cool, all those things. If you need to, you can take a sleep support supplement as well, such as snooze. Eating your cruciferous vegetables. Another tidbit, and I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about it, but I'll say it now. I buy frozen broccoli. I don't, because I find I have so adventurous when I go grocery shopping. I'll buy a bunch of great vegetables and then they end up dying. So I found buying frozen vegetables is just the way to go for me. So I have all frozen vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, beans, all sorts of stuff in my fridge. Another thing you can do for estrogen dominance is Reclaim. Reducing inflammation. So looking at corn, dairy, soy. If you are finding you're very inflamed, another thing you can do is do an anti-inflammatory diet. Avoid plastic, chemicals, birth control, and makeup, and take care of your gut on a regular basis as well. Making sure that you're actually having regular bowel movements is really important. And we have a product called Move It that actually helps with constipation. It's not an everyday product. This would be something you could take. That's Move It as well. So next, we're going to talk about the food you eat. So we've done the thoughts you think, we've done some hormones, and now we're jumping into the food we eat, another important part. So let food be thy medicine, or medicine be thy food. And this is beyond true. We really want to look at what we're eating. All those the hormones we have in our body are all responding to what we are giving it, whether it be the thoughts we're thinking, but also the nutrients we're giving it. We have to give our body good quality nutrients. I like to look at my body as like a sports car, and I want to put in the high grade gasoline. I don't want to put in, some crappy low grade gasoline. I want to give my body the best I possibly can. So another question time. Anybody here know what macros are? And I will go back to those questions. And I will be, yes, the recording, I will be sending you guys all the recording as well. What are macros? Anybody know what macros are? Anybody know? Anybody know what macros are? Any answers? Okay, I'll give it. Fine, I'll answer it. So macros are, oh, there we go. Macronutrients, you're right, but they are protein.
Oh, yeah, they're the larger nutrients, like your protein, your carbohydrates,
And
and like your vitamins and some of your minerals.
You're right. So macronutrients are your protein, fats, and carbohydrates. The micronutrients are would be your micronutrient, like your minerals, right? So macronutrients are your protein, fats, and carbs. So that is right there. So we've got your protein, your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats. So I'm going to go in to what the benefits are. So first, we're going to talk about protein. We've already talked about the benefits of protein. It's going to stabilize blood sugar, improves fat burning, stimulates muscle building. It improves learning and memory as well. It promotes positive mood. It's important for heart health. It actually slows the aging process down and helps with bone density. So these are all really important things about making sure we're having protein in every meal that we're eating every day. So it has, as we talked about earlier, hormonal balance. So all the hormones we really talked about, leptin, the insulin, also the ghrelin, all those things are really balanced by having protein with every meal. So proteins are made from chemical building blocks called amino acids. Now your body uses these amino acids to build and repair muscles and bones and to make hormones and balance your insulin, and enzymes. When we create lean muscle tissue by having protein that creates lean muscle tissue, that increases our metabolism. So I try to do 1 gram per pound. That's what I aim for. I do a lot of protein with every meal. And I tell people if you aim between 1 gram per pound, so if you aim for 40 grams of protein per meal, you might fall a little bit short, but at least you're aiming for that high dosage of protein. And also too, if we look at our immune system powerhouses such as antibodies and immune system, the immune cells, they actually rely on protein too. So really super important to make sure we're getting that protein every day. And some quality sources of protein we can look at, we have grass-fed beef and chicken, wild fish, lentils, eggs, chickpea, spirulina also is a complete protein, chlorella. So make sure good greens is always a good idea. Tofu, whey protein. I'm a whey protein girl. If you are a vegan, there's some amazing vegan protein on the market as well that you can make yourself a smoothie at night. If you're somebody in the morning time that has oatmeal in the morning, add a scoop of protein powder to it. Get that protein in to stabilize that blood sugar. So the key is stabilizing protein, stabilizing blood sugar, stabilizing your hormones by making sure you're having protein with every single meal. Next, we have benefits of healthy fats. So healthy fats are there to balance your hormones, help with heart health, regulate body temperature. They also help you absorb vitamin A, D, E, and K. So if you're ever buying a vitamin D supplement, which everybody should be on a vitamin D supplement, this is I don't have a vitamin D supplement I sell, we will eventually, but everybody should be on a vitamin D supplement, especially live up in Canada. They are all usually with a fat. They're always with a fat. So you usually get them in an olive oil or an MCT oil along those lines because your body absorbs vitamin D with a fat. Brain support boosts your immune system. Joint support stabilizes blood sugar, detoxifies the body, and it's anti-inflammatory. So we talked about some of the hormones before, looking at anti-inflammatory diet, making sure you get omega-3s is really important for anti-inflammatory benefits. Sources of healthy fats, nuts, seeds, avocados. I had half avocado today. I love my avocados. Olive oil, coconut oil. It helps your body's regulates your body's response to insulin. Fish oil, flaxseed oil, grass-fed butter, cheese. I'm all for good, healthy fats. And then carbohydrates. Carbohydrates got a really bad rap for a long time, especially when the keto phase was kind of going through. And as I mentioned, I believe anytime you take out a whole entire food group, it just creates this restriction. And then you end up usually always falling off. When I did keto talks for a while because I was requested to do so. And in that, I was always under very much anytime you take something out, it's really hard because you eventually will end up going back. And I meet countless people who tell me, oh, I've lost 80 pounds on keto. It's been good. And then I fell off the wagon and gained it all back. But I'm going to go back on again. And so it's really about being able to find something that's a little bit more balanced where you can have those carbohydrates. Your body can use those carbohydrates for good. So they provide energy, fiber, help you go to the bathroom, help with sleep, uplift your mood, improves digestive system, provides vitamins, and provides phytonutrients as well. And some of the sources of healthy carbohydrates, so I have a nice list here: fibers, vegetables, summer squashes, Brussels sprouts, cucumbers, asparagus. You've got all the different breads, the good whole grain breads, the breads that are going to slow down. They're not going to spike. It's not going to spike your blood sugar. It's going to be a slow release. Then you've got starchy vegetables. I mean, wintertime, I love my sweet potatoes and squashes and doing chilies and whatnot. And then, of course, your fruits as well. For weight loss, the fruits I tend to gear more towards more of the berries, right? The strawberries, the blueberries, those kind of things are more my choice when I'm looking for to throw in a smoothie because they don't have as much sugar in them. So fermented, I mentioned a bit about gut health. Gut health is so important. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. It is known as your second brain. So if your gut is in a state of dysbiosis, if it's not functioning well, it's really important to take care of it if you're not having regular bowel movements. So poor gut health increases the risk of estrogen-related diseases such as PCOS, endometriosis, and even breast cancer. We really need to take care of our gut health. If you have gas, bloating, and constipation, it's really important to take a look at some of the foods you're having. And fermented foods can really aid you in this. Kefir, tempeh, sauerkraut are great. Apple cider vinegar is something that you can start incorporating. But really having a little bit of fermented food is a really great way of supporting that gut health. So other tips for nutrition: minimize snacking, right? So not having all those little tiny meals. If you were somebody who did that, having more of that 3 meals a day. Drink your water. I'm going to take a sip of my tea while I'm at it. A lot of the times we forget to drink our water. Making sure you get water. I notice a huge difference when I start drinking more water just in my skin. If I start really making a conscious effort, my skin looks way better with drinking lots more water. Another tip is if you are struggling with gut and gut issues, start trying to take 3 to 5 breaths before eating, because a lot of the time we're eating on the go, we're doing stuff, we're not in a relaxed state, right? And when our cortisol levels, when we're higher levels stressed, our body shuts down reproductive organs. It also shuts down our ability, well, our desire to also reproduce, reproduction, and also gut. So it shuts it down so it can focus at the task at hand. So if you're stressed and you're trying to eat, your body's not going to be absorbing and your body's not going to be doing the job it needs to do. So 3 to 5 belly breaths before you're eating puts yourself into a nice, calm state, and your body can then absorb its food. I think that's, if I think back, I kind of wonder a bit. That's, you think about prayer, people pray before they eat, because that really kind of gets you into a calm, centered state. So not saying you have to pray before you eat, but just even, right? Just taking a breath and then eating, getting yourself in that calm state. Reduce your sugar. Be mindful of your food. Are you hungry, or are you just checking if the fridge light's on? Or are you mad, sad, or lonely? That's a talk I used to give a while back, really looking at the relationship with food and the narrative that we spin, and how food is something that's always been there for most of us. It was for me, but really being mindful and asking yourself the question, am I really hungry right now? What's going on? Limit alcohol. So alcohol impacts sleep, metabolism. It affects your gut negatively and also impairs estrogen metabolism. So it impairs your body ability to metabolize excess estrogen in the system. So now we're going to talk movement. I hope another thing you take away from tonight's conversation is that you start doing some weight-bearing exercises. This is essential as we get older. It's going to help with bone density. It supports insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation, and it nothing beats it when you have a good workout. I mean, I never leave the gym and say, well, that sucked. There's no bad workouts. You always leave going, I'm so glad I made myself go today. So even if you're getting 3 times a week, and make sure you're lifting heavy, don't go in and just do the little weights. You need to have weight-bearing exercises. So if you are stuck and if you don't know what to do, I tell women to do this all the time. Gyms are phenomenal. You could go buy a 3-session training pack, like 3 sessions from the gym. I think it'd be like 100, and maybe it's 120. I know when I used to train people back in the day at the gym, I think it was like $100 for 3 sessions. But even if it's $150, if you get yourself 3 different workouts, so you could do upper body, lower body, maybe another one, or chest and tricep, back and bicep, legs and shoulders, whatever it is. But getting a little program and using that program, you can use it for 3 months if you want, then go in and get another one done. So you kind of, if you're uncomfortable with the gym, this is going to give you a way to kind of get comfortable with the machinery and also start lifting weights. You want to make sure those last like 2 reps that you're doing are actually a little bit strenuous. right? So otherwise it becomes more of an endurance exercise. And we want to create that lean muscle tissue, because if you're eating that protein that you're going to be having with every meal and creating that lean muscle tissue, that's going to speed up your metabolism, and that's going to help your body change. That's how you change your body. It's not by taking out foods. It's not by doing hours of cardio. It's about creating muscle tissue, and that's going to serve you so much more in the long run as we get older. Also, be mindful of cortisol. If you are super, super stressed, maybe don't go do a HIIT workout that day. It's really about paying attention to yourself. Resistance training, as I mentioned, builds lean muscle tissue. It can improve hot flashes if that's something you're experiencing, help with cognition and brain health as well. And also walking. So I know that I'm looking at getting a vest, a weighted vest this summer. My daughter is mortified, but I want to get a weighted vest, and I want to start walking a lot more. We live in Kitsilano here by the water, so I can walk and walk and walk. It's another great thing you can do that helps with cardiovascular health. And if you have a friend to walk with you, then you can vent and release some stress too. So one thing I'd love you to take away tonight are two things. Protein for one thing, stabilize your meal, every single meal, and start working out if you can. Please start lifting weight bearing exercises. You will not regret this. Other supportive tips. So get to bed on a regular time. I already mentioned that, blackout blinds, where I talked about that one. Morning light. Now it's a little bit difficult. We don't really have much morning light. So if you do have one of those lights in your house that you can turn on, that would be great. But once it starts getting lighter out, I know I have a lot of windows in my place. I wake up first thing and I go out. I don't pick up my phone. I go out and get some light on my face, right? Morning protein, as I said, making sure you're having protein with every meal. In the morning time, if you're having oatmeal, put a skip away protein or a protein powder in there. If you're having eggs, it's not just one egg. One egg is not enough. You can have one full egg, maybe add 3 or 4 egg whites or a cup of egg whites. That's usually what I do. So I have a good 25, 30 grams of protein there. So really making sure your morning meal has protein. That's going to send signals to your genes to start regulating that insulin levels, right? Regulating that so your blood sugar's not all over the place. Getting outside and building connections with friends is all really important. And that slide's a little bit cut off there, but breath work as well. Another thing I do in the morning when I step outside, I walk my dogs, I breathe in really heavy and I hold and I just release. And that's one of the best things you can do. If you're feeling yourself in a stress situation, that's something I've really used to kind of bring my stress levels down, bring my cortisol levels down. That's why I mentioned that before you eat as well. Right? So now I'm going to dig into a little bit of supplementation. So I'm going to talk about some of the products that I've created, that I have a group of formulators that I work with. I have a team of, we have a team of 4 of us now that work on the formulas, and I come up with the ideas for the most part. So I'm going to share some of them that do really help with weight management. I had talked about estrogen tonight. This is one of my favorite products, as I mentioned, Reclaim. So Reclaim helps with perimenopause and PMS support. It relieves estrogen imbalance. It helps with irregular cycles, with painful periods, breast pain, moodiness, cravings. It has immune support in there. It is a 1 a day. A lot of the hormonal support products on the market are 4 a day. They tend to be very high. I really try to make things 1 a day. I don't like taking tons of pills. So this is Reclaim. Now I'm going to go over some of the ingredients of Reclaim. Reclaim has calcium deglucarate. That supports your liver. Your liver is that mother organ. So your liver is going to be responsible for flushing out that excess estrogen, right? It's going to go through your liver. So really looking how we can support the liver. Then we've got green tea extract in there. We have 2.5 grams. That stabilizes blood sugar. We talked about blood sugar being all over the map and how that can affect estrogen levels, also affect cortisol and stress. We have broccoli sulforaphane. Broccoli sulforaphane binds to estrogen and helps metabolize it. We have DIM. That balance is good to bad estrogen in the body. It also helps with breast, uterine, colorectal cancer, and helps with PMS. And then we have resveratrol that acts as a phytoestrogen. So that's a good estrogen that we want to have. We then have lion's mane in there. Lion's mane helps with memory, also helps with anxiety. As when we tend to have our hormones all over the place, sometimes it can affect how our mood is and really help with our memory there. We have curcumin that acts as an anti-inflammatory. That's something else. If you do feel inflamed, you can add turmeric or curcumin to your diet. That would definitely help as well. We have chaste that increases luteinizing hormone and progesterone. So that helps your ovulation, so your cycle to stay on that 28-day track. We have white yam for PMS and vaginal dryness and libido, B6 for mood and metabolism, astragalus to act as an adaptogen to help your body deal with stress, and then zinc to help with sex drive and thyroid. So that is Reclaim. Reclaim on that, I'll explain the QR codes in a little bit, but every single product comes with a complete program. Then we have Lose It. So Lose It is our metabolism support product. And as I've said, there is no magic pill. I wish there was. So I take one Lose It every morning before I go to the gym. It's about a cup of coffee. I love this product. I've been on it for 2-3 years. And I take just one a day. I just find it kickstarts my day. I get to the gym. I feel fantastic. There's no crash or come down. My mom, who is 72, takes it before pickleball. She loves it as well. So it's a workout support, energy enhancer, and also does support hormones. And there's no crash or come down on this one. So we have Indo-3 carbinol in here, and that comes from Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower. So that's those cruciferous vegetables. So that also helps bind to estrogen. As we talked about, estrogen tends to create more higher levels of fat in the body. So it helps your body metabolize estrogen. We have red pepper extract. That acts as an appetite suppressant, but also boosts your metabolism by kind of increasing the heat in the body. So you don't get hot from it, but increases the heat, so increases the calories burned. We have 1 cup of coffee per pill in here. We have green coffee bean. Now, Dr. Oz, if everybody remembers that, Dr. Oz back in the day talked a lot about green coffee bean. It helps lower blood pressure and supports weight loss. We have L-carnitine, which is an important amino acid, and that helps boost metabolism and helps with muscle recovery. We have olive leaf for weight loss and appetite, and then B12 as well. So how I take this product, I said I only take one a day. I'm doing it for years now. I probably should cycle off, but I love it. So I do one in the morning, that's it. If you're looking for weight loss, I tell most people start with 1 first week, then you can bump it to 2 if you want. The max you would ever want to take is 3. But I will talk a little bit about what's going on in the QR code too, because you have a full entire program. Because as much as I love this product, it's not a magic pill. We really have to put all of these things in together to make that product work properly. But it's a really great kickstart. Earlier, I talked a bit about So Harmonious, which is our blood sugar support. So this one helps stabilize our blood sugar. And we talked about the importance of blood sugar support. So this also helps with anybody with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, stress, ovulation support, immune support, and bowel support. Guys can easily take this too. My dad is a type 2 diabetic. My dad loves this product. It gives him something sweet to have at night before he goes to sleep and stabilizes his blood sugar. It is a powder. It is butterscotch. I usually make it with almond milk. So in here we have myo-inositol. So inositol helps how the body uses insulin and also helps with hormonal levels as well. So it helps with hormonal balance, but also stabilizing blood sugar. We have 4 grams of myo-inositol in here. So we have clinical doses in this product. We have coconut water powder that acts as an electrolyte. So that's going to replenish from a cellular level, right? So you're going to get your sodium, magnesium, calcium, potassium, and phosphorus in there, right? So it's really going to help with that. We have flaxseed powder. So flaxseed powder not only helps with bowel regularity, but also helps with hormonal balance and also helps with benefits for PCOS if somebody's dealing with polycystic ovarian syndrome. Then we've added KSM 66 ashwagandha. So ashwagandha is an adaptogen. It's a trademarked name and they use the root only. So when you buy an ashwagandha, you want to make sure they're using the root. And you also want to look at an ingredient called the withamethol. As you can see, it has 5% there. That is the bioavailability of the ashwagandha to support your adrenals, to support stress. So you want to make sure that levels are higher. Some of them, you can buy a standalone ashwagandha, but it might have like 1.5 with withamethol. So it doesn't have the high dosages. So you really want those high dosages. That's going to help with stress support. Then we have magnesium citrate that helps with insulin sensitivity and bowel regularity. NAC, so NAC helps with insulin, but also really has been well known to help with immune support. During COVID, this was a huge ingredient that everybody was looking for because it helps support immune health. We have zinc to help with hair loss and skin and acne. Then we have vitamin C to help with free radical damage. Chromium picolinate that also helps stabilize blood sugar, and vitamin D, 1,000 IUs. I take this at night before I go to bed when I drink it. I find I like how sweet it is. I don't crave anything else afterwards. I have a great sleep, but it helps stabilize blood sugar. So if you're somebody who's noticing that crashing, this could be a great product for you to have. And then I only have 2 more and then I'm done. Water Be Gone. This is our #1 seller. I can't not mention Water Be Gone. It's a diuretic support. If you retain water, if you find your rings are tight when you're flying, or if you're sodium sensitive like myself, this is a great product. So it's a UTI support, reduces bloating, relieves water retention, and it's hormonal support as well. So in here we have dandelions. We have 2,000 milligrams of dandelion that supports our body to flush out excess water. We have 400 milligrams of juniper berry. So it's a clinical monograph dose of juniper berry per capsule. So that helps with UTI healing. It also helps with kidney health. I have not had a UTI in like 3-4 years. I use Water Be Gone on the weekend. Whenever I have a salty meal, I take Water Be Gone. I had margaritas yesterday and I was licking that salty rim. I came home and had some Water Be Gone because I know I tend to puff up from the sodium. We have milk thistle in there to support the liver. Fucus vesiculosis, which is known as kelpware, that helps with weight loss. It also helps with diuretic components to flush your system. B6 to help with water retention. Black cohosh. Guys can take this product too, even though it does have black cohosh in it. Helps with PMS and menopausal symptoms, and then magnesium to prevent cramping. So you can stack, all our products are stackable. You can stack these two together if you want and start with like 1 a day each, and then go to 2, and then go to 3. You're going to know some water flushing from stacking them together. All the products can be stacked, by the way. So that's Water Be Gone. And last one I'm going to talk about is snooze. And this is my favorite sleep support. I do not travel without it. It has no melatonin in it. So if you're somebody who's adverse to melatonin, this is the product you want to be looking at. It supports your adrenals, helps with stress, relaxation, helps with morning energy as well, and then also relieves hot flashes. So in here we have hawthorn. Hawthorn supports heart health. So #1 killer of women is heart disease. So we're really looking at ways in which you can support heart health. We have valerians that inhibits GABA breakdown. So GABA is what really kind of gets us into that calm, sedative feeling. So it helps your body from not breaking it down. So valerian's really great in this product. We have 1,200 milligrams is that because we use an extract. So we use a 4-to-1 in there. Passion flower for anxiety and also for hot flashes. L-theanine to relieve stress and cortisol. When we are stressed, when our body is producing more cortisol, that hormone cortisol, it produces less melatonin, and we need melatonin to get to sleep. So we really want to make sure our stress is taken care of. That's why we go back to the thoughts you think as well, right? We're laying in bed at night. We're usually thinking about all the stuff that's going to happen the next day or things we haven't done, and we're getting all stressed in our head, and that creates more cortisol, which creates less melatonin. So it's really important to kind of tie that whole in together. So if your mind chatter is going really fast and you can't kind of calm down, snooze is a great product to take. We have GABA in there, and then we also have magnesium glycinate. So I take, where's the wrong one? There we go. If my mind chatter is going pretty strong, I'll take 2 snooze, go to sleep, no problem. I usually can always sleep. However, 2 or 3 times a month, I will wake up, sometimes at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, where I go to the bathroom, I come back to bed and my mind starts thinking. You can take 2 snooze at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and you will fall back asleep and you will not have a sleep hangover because there's no melatonin in it. I still get up at the gym at 5:45 and I hit the gym in the morning. So it's really great that way. So it's something I always have beside my bed just in case. That's the beauty of it. Oh, that's a double page of it. Okay. So some of the takeaway lessons from here tonight have been, we want to be mindful with our thoughts, right? Really paying attention to the thoughts that we have. Pay attention to stress and hormonal imbalance. Are you crashing after your meals? Are you always hungry? Are you never feeling full? So really paying attention to some of those things going on. Are you having really painful, heavy periods? Are you not able to sleep at night? Looking at all those hormones and what's going on in your body. Looking at the food choices that we're making sure you're getting protein with every meal, getting good, healthy carbohydrates, making sure you're having good fats, all those different things. Moving your body at least 30 minutes a day, lifting weight-bearing exercises at least 3 times a week if you can. If you can't get to the gym, get some weights, do something at home, lift some weight-bearing exercises. You will not be disappointed. It's fully such an important thing. Drink your water, reduce those sugars, mindful eating, supplement when needed. We have great supplements here, and I'm really proud of the company we're creating. Be kind to yourself. I think we can be. I know I can be too. We would never say some of the stuff that we say to ourselves, to our friends, right? So we need to really start being kind to ourselves and having some empathy and being compassionate to where we are right now. There's a reason you are exactly where you are right now. Use a plan to kickstart if need be, and really looking at what do your story want to be. I look at all those years ago when I kind of had my aha moment. It was like, who do I want to be in this world? This is my one chance of doing this. So what am I going to be? Who do I want to be? I want to start taking care of my body. I want to start being mindful of the things and choices I'm making in my life so I can live a happy and healthy, vital life till very, very old age. So with every single Aeryon Wellness product, something that makes us unique, we got on Dragon's Den in 2022, I think it was, for using QR code technology. I'm the only company that does that. So when you scan those QR codes on the label, you get a 60-second video where I explain everything about the product. You get 2 meal plans, vegan and non, and you get tons of information. There's workouts, there's affirmations, all those 5 pillars I kind of talked about. We go into, for Reclaim, we talk about the 4 phases of a woman's cycle. So there's so much information in every single one. And I'm really proud of that because I know that a lot of the times it can be really overwhelming when you walk into a supplement store and there's all these vitamins, you're not sure which one to take. But if you have a program and a guide, it can really help you out. So really proud of that. And we're always updating the meal planners too. So every single product has its own complete program. Also, too, last but not least, we donate a portion of every single bottle sold to the Downtown Eastside Women's Shelter here in Vancouver. When I created the brand, I knew I wanted to create a brand that not only products that I needed and wanted, but I wanted to create a product line that would be great for my retailers to get behind, that consumers can trust, and also that we really make a difference with women in need. So we've been donated to the Downtown Eastside Women's Shelter now for, I think, 3 years now. And I'm almost done. Then I'm going to go to the chats. 1 second. Another thing too, I suggest signing up to our newsletter. Get our newsletter on our website. We have some new launches coming out. I'm going to be doing another, March 12th is the next seminar that I have coming up on webinar, but we also have a new perimenopause manual we're going to be giving out. So if you tie into that newsletter and get signed up, you're going to be getting all that information. Podcast on the Friends You Keep on Apple. I welcome you to sign up to that and listen to me talk to some really incredible people doing amazing things. We are on Instagram and Twitter. Give us a follow. Facebook, YouTube, and you can personally follow me if you like, Aeryon Bella Ashlie. I welcome that. So you can kind of see my life and then also a bit of the brand and what we're doing at Aeryon Wellness. Tonight, if you would like to buy any of the products on the website, you can just enter the code Aeryon15, and that's going to be on till the 23rd. So you can use that coupon code to buy any of the products as well. So just remember it's Aeryon15, and you're going to get 15% taken off all the products that you buy. And now I'll go to questions. Let me just go into the chat here. Okay, there we go. So first off, I'm going to go back here for 1 second, and then I know Esther raised her hand too. So yes, there's going to be a recording. I'll be sending you all the recording through the Eventbrite. So I'll be sending that today. That's why I've saved it. And when I do my blood work, so when I go in, I ask Lakshi, I think that's how you say her name. I go in and ask for a complete hormonal panel. So they test my estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, free-bound testosterone. And I've been doing that every year since I was 35. So I get that tested every single year. And the reason I've done that is I really want to have a full comprehensive look at the markers, is what's going on hormonally as I get older. Whatever that decision is, if I decide to do HRT or if I don't, at least I want to really have a full scale view of what's going on. And my daughter is 15, turning 16. I plan on doing her first hormonal panel. So then she has that, because I think how neat would it be, you know, if we had this information our whole entire life. She doesn't need to go every year, but if she did every 3 years, it'd be great for her to have that as she gets older. If there's any issues, you know, with perimenopause or menopause or anything as she gets older. So, Esther, did you have a question? Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Esther. Let's stop recording.
One was called Up and Away, and the other one was
Yes.
called Remind Me.
Yes. Yes. What was your question on those? Sorry.
I was wondering what those are for.
Oh,
Up and
sure.
Away and Remind Me.
You remind me, yes. So Up and Away, Up and Away is for bacterial vaginosis and yeast infections. So it is a vaginal suppository. So our vaginal area should be like a 3.5. It should be super acidic. So when we are too alkaline, oops, sorry, I jumped back there. When we are too, oops, going backwards here. There we go. When we are too alkaline, we can get a yeast infection. So yeast infection is itchy, discomfort, discharge, not fun. And that's usually around a 4.5 to a 5 on the acid alkaline scale. So we're always taught to be super alkaline. That's why we have all our greens. It's really important. Our vaginal area is very acidic, right? So in that, when we become too alkaline in our vaginal area, that's when we get a yeast infection. And if it becomes even more alkaline, it's not itchy, discomfort, and discharge. What ends up happening is we end up, there's a smell that's not fun. So boric acid is what up and away is. So boric acid is borax, believe it or not, and minerals combined together. And when you vaginally insert it, it actually makes it super, super acidic again. So it brings it right back down. So a lot of women who are in menopause, or if you have unprotected sex, male sperm is a 9, they throw us off, or sometimes nutrition, they just simply use one of these. So we have it, there's an applicator here, right? And 14 days. This one comes in the box. We have one, it's just pills, and you can just use your fingers if you want. Some women use it once a week to keep everything nice and acidic. Some women use it after sex, but some women just use that as a preventative type thing. So that's up and away. You Remind Me is our cognitive product. So that helps with focus and brain fog. So if you're somebody experiencing brain fog, in that we have 100 milligrams of Bacopa. So that helps with memory and brain fog. And then we have 2,700 milligrams of KSM 66 ashwagandha in here too to help with stress. So this is a 1 a day, probably around 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And one other thing, my older niece has ADHD. I'm sure she's probably got her own medicine
Yeah, she probably
for
will.
that problem.
Yeah.
But if she wanted to take a break from the medicine that she takes now, would that Remind Me help her if she chose to use it?
Well, I wouldn't be, that'd be beyond my scope because I don't know what her medical condition is, but I would tell her to talk to her doctor first. That's what she'd have to do, right? She can't, I mean, especially ADHD, the medication, I mean, there's a reason for the medical system, and I'm a big proponent of it. And so if that's something that's helping stabilize her and supporting her, then she probably should just stay on it. And yeah, that would be the one thing I would say, unless if she really wants to, definitely talk to the doctor, but I wouldn't be able to say yes to that one because I don't know her medical history. So I'm just going to answer.
I was just kind of
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I would love to say yes. I wish I could be like, yes, but
I know, yeah, I mean, if they're under doctor care, they have to
they
stay
have
under
to apply by their
doctor
doctor.
care. But I think some of the medication that they give to it can be quite harsh on the body, whereas I think your stuff is not is much gentler on the
Yeah,
body.
no, it is for sure. It definitely is much gentler because it's all natural too.
You know, something that helps precision and focus, but
Yeah,
to give her body. And it doesn't help that she's going through hormonal changes now.
Yeah.
She's going to be a teenager come May.
Yeah. I have a teenager, so I know what that's like. So we have another question here. Does full hormonal panel covered under OHIP or basic blood work? Okay, so you can get a hormonal panel done through blood work. Going to a naturopath, they tend to do a thing called the Dutch test. So that is a dried urine test. So that's a little different. I've just done that one recently. So you definitely can you can go and get that one done, but you have to pay for that, and your extended benefits might cover it. But for a blood work panel, it would be covered under OPIP. That's something you can definitely do. And your last checkup, your doctor said you had too much protein. I would be really surprised. I mean, the amount of protein you'd have to be having, you'd have to have severe high levels of protein. So I don't know what your doctor's referring to, Dee, and I don't know how much protein you are having, but I mean, when I think back when I competed for years, I was having really, really, really high levels of protein and it was still fine. So I don't know how much protein how much he thinks you're having, or how much, or what test he's done. If he's done a test, maybe that's why. So maybe that's something. How do you know if you have estrogen dominance? Estrogen dominant PMS symptoms are one of them, right? If you have estrogen dominance, so painful heavy periods or cramping, or your period's really heavy or it's really light, or you have breast tenderness, that tends to be more breast estrogen dominance. Those are different reasons. So PMS symptoms. Sorry, I have the hiccups now. Copper IUD. I had a copper IUD for a long time and it was perfectly fine for me. Now there's some people who don't like IUDs at all. And they think you should just track your cycle. I'm more of a proponent for the copper IUD. That's something I think is a perfectly fine for that. And that's my take on it though. And you really have to kind of find what works best for you. But I found the copper IUD works really good for me. And also something I recommend to my clients too. Let me just pause the